You can picture the situation in which the elder girls manage the household finances on their own in Korean drama. In addition, parents pay the tuition for their sons to attend college and study abroad in the United States, not for their daughters. K-eldest daughters, K-jangnyeo, is the term for the oldest daughters. Literally, K-장녀 is the oldest child. However, they share some things. When they were younger, they usually assisted their mothers in caring for their younger siblings. As they get older, they are expected to take responsibility for their family and parents. You might assume that these traits are shared by all elderly people. Usually, the eldest son and eldest daughter provide for the family financially. Even if their parents don't support them, the eldest daughter should take care of her family exactly like the eldest boy does, while also managing their emotions unlike the eldest son. In particular, the K-eldest daughter concurrently assumes the roles of men and women as set forth by society. The eldest son out of everyone benefits along with accepting accountability. That is to say, the eldest daughter is responsible for a variety of tasks. Consequently, we can discover more about the K-eldest daughter, K-장녀. In Korea, there is a saying that states, if the first child is a daughter, that is a big assistance around the house. Women could not previously pursue education. Women were prevented from learning as a result of the social stigma that there is no need for women studying, and a married daughter is no longer a member of their own family. Women have typically made sacrifices for their brothers. The eldest daughters in particular frequently marry men who are not stubborn for them and bring in the big bucks for their families. Modern society encourages K-eldest daughters to work rather than get married in order to take care of their families. Korea's economy plummeted after the Korean War and the time of Japanese colonialism. To stabilize the shaky economy, many people were sacrificed. Women worked as laborers in the lowest social tier. Korea's heavy and light industries provided a means for the country to emerge from a slump. Women workers were able to complete the miracle of the hard labor. In actually, the gender split among workers in light industries was 4-6. In the 1970s, there were more women workers than men. Despite the fact that most factory managers were men, most workers were women. Women outnumbered men by a ratio of 2-8, for instance, but all of the managers of Dongil Corporation were men. A huge income difference between men and women. Women workers only received 71 as opposed to the 500-701 paid to men. The main factor reviving the Korean economy was the availability for cheap female labor. They had to put in non-stop labor to support their family. They spent 12 to 60 hours a day working at the factory. They lacked the money to even have a meal, let alone use the restroom. Women workers in precarious situations risked their lives to provide for their families. In particular, they labored mostly to pay the tuition for their younger brother. While K-eldest daughters were imprisoned in a factory, giving up their own aspirations for their brothers. Younger brothers worked hard in high school and college to achieve their dreams at the expense of their elder sister. Korean society has peculiar identities. Women were educated to be good wives and smart mothers, but society couldn't function without women laborers. According to the assumption that women work for houseworker men for society, the situation is paradoxical. So while working at the same pace as men, women simultaneously maintain the home. Women still sweat blood, but still be ladylike. After the economic expansion, women were freed from punishing labor. To this day, many K-eldest daughters have made sacrifices for their families.
아빠 5년 전에 다단계 사기로 4천, 도박으로 2,500, 한증막 투자한다고 3,800, 주식으로 7,000 하신 거. 나랑 은경이 4년째 갖고 있어. 거기다 이 집 월세 80, 생활비 200. 숨만 쉬고 앉았어도 빚이 계속 쌓이는데 지금 다리 부러졌다고 필리핀 갈 돈이 있겠어요?
Traditionally, women have been responsible for doing the housework. Since they were little, K-eldest daughters have been expected to care for their younger brothers instead of their parents. Even when they were still children, they had to prepare meals for their younger siblings. Even worse, K-eldest daughters are responsible for cooking meals for their father and older brothers. It makes sense that daughters would cook for their fathers. You have to cook meals for your elder and younger brothers as a sister. Because you are a girl, woman, you should undertake chores. K-eldest daughters have grown weary of hearing these words. In Korea, there is a saying that states men should not enter the kitchen. But it's strange, men are the most well-known chefs in Korea. It doesn't seem accurate to say that Korean men can enter a kitchen or a cook. Most K-eldest daughters have sacrificed their girls in order to support their families up until this point. But their selflessness and concession are taken for granted. My parents are so busy that I have to take care of my brothers. I have to give up items I wanted because our family has been struggling. These are typical for K-eldest daughters. However, the sacrifice and duties made by the K-eldest daughters are not acknowledged, paid for, or given any sort of comfort. This is the most significant distinction between the eldest son. According to the benefit that the eldest son needs to perform well to do well in the family, and that the eldest son is the future of the family, the eldest son in Korean culture frequently receives complementary parental support. They are acknowledged as the family's head as well. Additionally, the eldest boys are respected for their leadership and are in charge of all the major events in the home. The financial aspect of the family is solely the responsibility of the eldest son and eldest daughters. However, in addition to financial duty, K-eldest daughters are also expected to settle family disputes, become their mother's emotional garbage can, handle housekeeping, and look after their younger siblings. However, it is expected that the oldest daughter is taken for granted. Even at a funeral for a parent who has passed away, the eldest daughter cannot serve as the main mourner and plan the entire funeral. The chief mourner is recognized as the family's head and leader in Korea. As a result, it is a privilege that denotes their status within the family. But women could hold the position of chief mourner. The younger brother is the main mourner if there is a significant age gap between the eldest daughter and the younger brother, or even if the younger brother is looked after and raised by the eldest daughter. Even if the eldest daughter gives her entire life to the family, she is frequently passed over in terms of property inheritance by her younger brother. Even if the eldest daughter claims they are being treated unfairly, the reply is, then you should have been born a man. The anguish and injustice of K-eldest daughters are now being recognized as social problems. Finally, they came to an agreement and a spirit of appreciation for the sacrifices started to emerge. However, K-eldest daughters continue to experience problems in Korean society. There have been numerous initiatives to show fathers' empathy by discussing the sacrifices made by their fathers. But women, particularly eldest daughters, have not received enough attention. I wish for the K-eldest daughters future freedom from these constraints and shackles so they can live their own lives. So thank you for watching this video, and please don't forget to click the subscribe and the like button.